the iron men of God when these gross acts of sin and immorality were committed against God. Some were probably involved, and we know that Zimri, whose father was the tribal leader of the Simeonites, he was involved. He was involved in the rebellion against God. But what about those who weren't involved? Where were they? Why don't we read of them standing up? Why don't we read of them as a group going in and putting an end to this? Where were they when Zimri brought the Moabite woman into his tent? Where were the rest of God's people? Where are you? Where are you, brothers? You cling to, if someone sees their brother caught in sin, they should just pray. There are times when that's appropriate. But some of us, we use that. That's our get out of jail free card. Never challenge anybody on anything.
Come on, bro.
You know, why don't we read about the rest of them making an attempt, at least making an attempt, to stop the people from bowing down and worshiping other gods and being immoral with these ungodly women? They clearly knew what was going on was wrong. And so often, we know it's wrong. But oftentimes, we just talk to each other about it. We don't go and confront the person in love. We just talk to each other about it. Why did the leaders and the people just watch what was going on? I'll tell you why. Apathy. Apathy is why. They didn't care enough to act, because if they really cared, they would have done something. That's sort of a have a birthday moment for you. If you really cared, you'll do something. Don't say you care, but it's just not the right time. Or don't say you care, but you're not the right guy. Don't say you... It's apathetic. And it's strangling our church. We grow at a snail's pace. Because everybody's comfortable, and nobody better mess with me. And my gosh, no one's going to tell me what to do ever again. I've been down that road, Jack. Slap me once. Right? We're bitter. We're cynical. And we've got to change it. And if you're not, amen. I'm not trying to carpet bomb everyone in here. If you're fired up for the Lord, you're going for it, you're fruitful, amen. But some of us, when's the last time we brought someone to church even, much less help someone we personally met become a Christian? And you know what? If you're in lots of studies and the people you're meeting and they're not becoming Christians, but other people are, you're being fruitful in my mind. But you got to be involved, and you got to be inviting people and trying to be, you know, when our old term, personally fruitful. But I'm not so interested in that as I am just, are you involved? Are you making things happen? You know, the majority of God's people here that we read about were indifferent, right? And we have to understand that apathy, it costs us everything. Paul in 1 Corinthians 10:8 tells us that, reminds us of the story. He says, we should not commit sexual immorality as some of them did. And in one day, 23,000 of them died. 23,000 were killed in one day. And can you imagine that scene? Can you imagine if we had another, 20,000 people up here? And there was sin going on, and and we knew it, and we were staying away from it, but we weren't doing anything about it. And the next thing you know, man, just people start dying. Can you imagine? The wailing and the weeping. That scene in the entire camp. The leaders were killed and hung out in plain view of all people. Again, a clear testimony to what apathy does. And I wanted to share this point a little bit because I just think we don't really see it as sin. We see it as something we're working on, or yeah, I know I need to get more involved, or yeah, I know I need to be more fired up, or yeah, but we don't really do anything. Yeah, I know I need to get closer to God. Yeah, I know I need to have better quiet times. Yeah, I know I need to pray more. But nothing changes. Nothing changes. At least not for any length of time. And apathy can cost us everything. The tragic sight that these guys were involved with is almost overwhelming. So we've got to really guard against that. I mean, imagine if Phinehas or Peter or Paul were to walk into our world today, and we're watching the TV shows and seeing the movies and going to abortion clinics and hearing the silent cries of these unborn children, and imagine if they came into our church. And imagine if they came into our home. What would they see? What would they find? I know in some cases they'd be like, amen. Amen. You're holding it down for the last couple thousand years, You're one of the remnant. But I fear in too many of our homes, that's not what they find. And brothers, if we don't repent, apathy is going to cost us everything. And for years, I think our church has been too indifferent about what's going on in the world, right? I think it's in your notes, but many have become weak, mild-mannered wimps. Whose battle mantra, instead of, one for the Lord and one for Gideon, has now become, who am I to tell someone that what they're doing is wrong? And we sometimes laud and applaud that humility more than we laud and applaud a man who's willing to take a stand against sin. I said it yesterday, but sometimes we resent, family leaders or Bible talk leaders that are strong, and certainly ministers that are strong. We need someone who understands better, who knows that what he really needs is nothing but velvet. You understand what I'm saying? Because it doesn't feel as good as the other. But we've got to be men. We're talking about being iron men here. And yes, we've got to have the velvet. We've got to have that. But we've got to be men of steel. We've got to be men of iron in our resolve and in our will and foreheads of flint against Satan. We have to be undaunted in going after the Lord. And too many of us are so not undaunted. We're very daunted. We get the slightest little challenge and we're stopped in our tracks. We get the slightest little challenge and we go, oh, well, maybe you don't have to be baptized to be saved. Well, maybe, all these other churches, just because they do it differently from us, doesn't mean that they're not right with God too. I mean, because far be it from me to put myself in the place of God. And yet, the Bible says the righteous man makes judgments about all things. Amen. Certainly in the Scriptures, we don't see the disciples backing away from truth in the Scriptures, do we? I mean, we see false doctrine being preached in so many churches. We see scripturally immoral lifestyles being sanctioned by modern churches. We see a godless world without hope, without direction, that's being sucked into a world of apathy. It's being sucked into a world of greed and lust and pornography and hate. But when Phineas had this encounter, when the pole of sin tried to put its bony fingers of death around Phineas, he stood up, he overcame. And with fire in his heart, right? And tears in his eyes, as he saw the great consequences, as he saw all the death around him, all the ungodliness going on around him, in the midst of that, someone brings a woman in right in front of Moses, right in front of the leaders. And they're weeping, but only Phineas stood up. He's a faithful iron man of God. He rose to the occasion, he picked up the spear, and he took action. So my third and final point is, we must be full of zeal. Amen. We got to be full of zeal, brothers. And I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure if you're excited about that or not, but that's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Doug. Come on.
Because we're older, and we're not so naive anymore, and we're not, we still need to be full of zeal. Right? God's commands are still just as strong today. His expectations are just as strong. He hasn't watered down a thing. Even though people have been hurt and have been wrong, and there's been bad leadership at times, God has never changed His word one iota.
Come on, Doug.
Someone spoke about the pendulum the other day, and it's like, the pendulum, no matter which way it swings, if it swings outside the confines of the Scripture, it swung too far. So swinging it too far the other way to make up for the fact that it was swung too far the other way doesn't make up for that. It just makes it worse in another way. Right? We're men of the Word. We're men of God. We must be full of zeal. And so when Phineas saw these gross and flagrant acts of sexual immorality going on all around him, when he saw God's people bowing down to these foreign gods, he was angry. And when he saw one of Israel's own leaders arrogantly and defiantly bring a Midianite woman through the middle of the camp, Phineas' anger and zeal for God's honor caused him to react and reach his boiling point. So he bent down and he firmly grasped that spear. And then he too walked in front of Moses and all of God's leaders straight into that tent. And he saw the immorality going on, and he just flat stuck that spear through one, through the other, and into the ground. You talk about dropping the mic. Phineas walked out of that tent with no pride in his heart. No, I'm the biggest, baddest man. Just full of conviction. And I'm sure he looked at Moses straight in the eyes. And the other leaders that were there, I'm sure he looked them straight in the eyes and probably didn't say a word. It was probably just silence. He knew they were convicted. They knew he was an iron man. They knew he was a man after God's own heart. Right. And when he did that, then God spoke to Moses these tremendous words of praise for Phineas. The Lord said to Moses, said to Moses, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, has turned away my anger from the Israelites, for he was as zealous as I am for my honor among them, so that in my zeal I didn't put him into them. Therefore tell him I'm making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have covenant. And so he tells Moses, so you tell Phinehas. Because he's still talking through Moses. Even though Moses wasn't the best leader at that moment in time, or didn't, have the best leadership at that moment in time. That happens to all leaders. He's still God's guy. And so he tells him, because he had as much zeal for my honor as I do. Can you imagine? God says his honor or his zeal for my honor is the same as my zeal for my honor. The same. Not almost as great or not, more than any of the rest of you jokers. It's like, no, the same as mine. What an incredible statement God made about it. And so we too must be like Phinehas and walk the path of zeal, brothers.
Come on.
It's not easy, is it? I mean, even now, you're tired. Some of you, you've been up late every night, you've been up early every morning, you're listening to tons of lessons, and you're tired already, right? And some of you are already thinking, oh, I've got to go to work tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, we all get that, right? And so it's not easy. And Satan's on, you got to realize that's Satan working on you. He just wants to subtly, you don't even realize, you got to think about these things. You got to get, he's subtly working on you so you don't leave here any more full of zeal than when you came. For some of you, maybe he's even, telling you, well, I don't think that's the best exegesis of that passage. And, I think, there's more to be said about, he just works on us in so many ways.
Yeah, talk about it.
He's scared to death that you're going to come down off this mountain and be zealous. You know what I like at home tonight? You're really happy if you're married to see your wife. She might be mad about something you left undone when you left. I'm telling you. And you're fired up and you're immediately, you'll be like, I don't need this. And the whole weekend's undone.
Don't let that happen.
You may walk into one of your child's bedrooms and you got to be kidding. I told you 10 times before I left, and off you go. I mean, it's like Satan, and we're too easily, we're too daunted. We're not enough undaunted. So we need to prepare. You're coming off a mountain. Satan's going to attack. So just be prepared. And if he doesn't, today, then be prepared tomorrow. And be prepared from the standpoint, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm going to be full of zeal. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm a new man. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm starting all over today. And however great I'm doing, I'm going to do even better going forward. Amen. The path of zeal is not an easy one. Sometimes it's a lonely path, isn't it? When Phinehas did what no one else had the courage to do, no one cared enough or had enough zeal for God's honor to do anything about what was going on. They just lay there weeping as Phinehas stood. He stood alone. When Paul walked into Athens, he walked into Athens alone. I mean, we're talking men of steel here. Men of steel resolve. Yet with velvet hearts for God and for God's people. Phinehas knew that it wasn't might that makes right, but rather it's right that makes might. And that's who we need to be. Our world, all I got to do is watch some talk show and have somebody who's living some kind of lifestyle, whatever it is, dressing in women's clothes, whatever it is. And if you have one person standing in the audience and go, well, even in a loving way, I just think the scriptures teach, look at people's reaction. They get booed out of the place. They get mocked for the rest of the show. And that's the society we live in. People of God aren't respected, and in some ways, rightfully so. There's too much hypocrisy going on. It must not be, it cannot be in our movements. In our movement, amen? You've got to be full of zeal because you never know what God's going to do. I told you a little bit about my sister, and she was a year and a half older than me. I told you I wouldn't allow myself to be adopted by anybody that wouldn't take her. And so her and I sort of grew up together, and we fought. And I know some of you, I fought with my sister and my brother. We it was, we had similar childhoods, right, her and I. And so we were both a mess. We fought, but we loved each other deeply. It was, lots of brothers and, feel that way, but it was intense, what I'm saying, both ways. And I just hate her with every fiber of my being sometimes. And not just feel like I did, no, I hate her. And her the same at times. But we grew up and sort of went different ways. We both were partiers, we both were, but she just always at another level. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever drugs I did, she did harder ones. however much I drank, she drank more. I just, again, she just was more damaged. I don't know how else to say it. And so I, became a Christian finally and prayed for her, and, we would talk at different times, and there was just no traction, and, blah, 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 and she would call me all the time after I became a Christian, especially once I had kids, and, it might be 2 in the morning, and she's, weeping on the phone, and, blah, 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 I don't understand what happened, here you are with a family, and I feel like you're taking care of me, and no, I'm supposed to take care of you. I'm your big sister. I'm the one that's always took care of you when you were little, and this needs to be me, and, those kind of moments, and so we'd invite her all the time to try, and nothing ever happened. And finally, she got sick. She got cirrhosis and Hep C. And if any of you know anything about wild lifestyle, that comes from a wild lifestyle. And she got cirrhosis of the liver and Hep C, and was really sick, and we got her to come live with us. And she was, a beautiful woman. Before I was a Christian, we'd go to bars together, and almost every time, guys would come up, who's that? Are you with her? Oh, that's your sister. Oh, okay, great. You know what I mean? And that's what she was. And even, into her, early 30s, but then she got sick and she had cirrhosis and her stomach's out to here. Not because she's overweight, but because she's bloated. Because she's sick. And her skin is this weird color and her hair doesn't look, And so when I first saw her, I knew her because, but it was almost like, oh, she was in such bad shape. So she came to live with us. My girls were both little. And she just loved them. They loved her. She was just amazing. Even in all her sickness, she could make a meal, a 5-course meal, and by the time the food's on the table, the kitchen's spotless. It's just she just was always clean, always. She was a very smart person, but not, smart enough, right? And but she lived with us, and she started studying the Bible. Some of the sisters started reaching out to her. She started studying the Bible. She was digging the sisters. They were digging. And I was like, this is. You know what I mean? Like, I'd almost lost hope. I need to be vulnerable. I lost hope that she was going to become a Christian. And she was. She was on the, and the next thing you know, my wife would see her go out of the house, and she'd be outside the house for a few minutes and then come back in. And finally, after several times it's happening, my wife got curious, and so she spied on her, and sure enough, she was going around to the side of the house, and there was a little plate down on the, the bottom of the house. She'd move that plate and pull out a bottle of liquor, and take a pull off of it, put the lid back on, put it in, hide it, and then come back in. And that started happening. And so, we asked her about it. Oh, it's about, how, how defensive you are, and how it's not that, blah, blah, blah. And eventually her boyfriend from California, and, from Texas, we were living in California at the time, her boyfriend from Texas, Bill, trying to get her to come back, and, I wanted to be a man of nothing but steel with this guy. And eventually she's drinking enough, where she left. Came back to Texas. And so I just thought, I was trying to comfort myself with, I did everything I could. That was her chance. And when she dies, and it's probably going to be sooner than later, hopefully I'll be able to be at peace. And so she goes back there. She started to get a little bit better when she was here, but she got sick again. She's basically bedridden. This joker's buying her boxed wine and bringing her wine all day long, and finally she ends up in the hospital, and, I get a call from someone at the hospital there, I think one of my family members, before I was adopted, saying Karen's sick. I said, well, can I talk to the doctor? So put the doctor on, and I wanted to find out what was really, he said, yeah, you need to come. And so my wife and I got on a plane, and we went to see her, and we got there to the hospital, and they told us, look, she's in a coma, and she's probably not going to come out of it. And if by some miracle she comes out of it, she's not going to be coherent. And so we're just, we don't know exactly how long. So we were there, we were praying for her, and, she did come out of the coma, and she was coherent, and we did study the Bible with her. I'd have this talk with her, brothers, that I went in, and, just me, closed the little curtain, and she's laying in her bed, and I said, Karen,
Come on, bro.
Come on, bro.
I said, Karen, if you ever want to see your nieces again, you got to get saved. Because the only way you're ever going to see them again is in heaven. Because your death is imminent. no, Doug, I promise, this time I'm going to quit. I'm going to get better. I will. And I said, Karen, it's too late. It's gone. Your liver's gone. Your liver's an amazing thing. I'm going into the science on that because I'm no doctor, although I do play one on TV. I told her, I said, you're not going to come back from this. You're not going to make it. You can't get a donor because of your lifestyle. You can't even get on the list. So you're going to die. And she sort of understood it, but we don't want to accept that, right? But she sort of did. She said, well, so what do I need to do? I said, sweetie, you need to study the Bible like you started to in California. You got to get right with God. And if you do, you'll see my babies again. And so she said, okay. And so we studied the Bible with her. How you do when someone's that sick? You just do a couple studies, you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit of discipleship, a little bit of light and darkness, or a lot of light and darkness, and show them the cross. And then basically, there's not a lot of cost to count. There's not a lot of time that's going to go on, And so then we're trying to get permission. We got to that point. Yes, I want to be baptized. And we got to that point and trying to get permission from the hospital in Plano, Texas. And couldn't get it. And so we did what any good Christian would do. We snuck her down there to the rehab pool. And if you're judging me, God will judge you. We snuck her down to the pool and baptized her, took her out of her wheelchair, baptized her, and then a few of the Christians from Dallas were there, and we put her back in her chair, got on the elevator, came up, as soon as the door opened, the nurse was there, good news! Oh, well, never mind. She said, I finally got permission, but she saw Karen, so I thought so, I figured that's what you were going to say. But it's hard for me to describe to you how amazing it is that she got saved. So far from God, so damaged, so hurt, so just bitter about life, so, we used to fight about that almost more than anything. Just, Karen, stop, you got so, and so it's a miracle. A miracle. Is that a big enough word? I don't know if there's anything bigger than that, but it's just, I couldn't believe it. So much so that I didn't know if I did believe it. Did she just do this because, this, and then, she ended up living for 6 weeks. And I couldn't afford anything, so I had to put her in an old folks home. It wasn't all that nice, but it's all I could afford, and I went back to California, and then, 6 weeks later, my sister passed away. I tried to get out there. They called me. She's in the hospital, and Sally Hooper, who's an elder's wife there, she called me from the hospital, and we were talking, and I said, okay, tell her I'm on my way. And she did, and so when I got to the hospital, she was gone. And Sally said, as soon as I told her, come on, Doug.
Come on, Doug.
It's a happy story, so I'm not sure what's happening. As soon as I told her you were on your way, she let go. She said she could almost see it, And so we had the funeral. Greg came out and helped me with the funeral. And I talked to so many people who said they visited her and just told stories about her. And I'm like, okay, I'm talking about my sister, Karen. How great she was and how loving she was. And she was very, very funny, so that didn't surprise me. But just, these great stories. And then I felt kind of like, then that made me think, okay, she really is saved. And then I got a little upset thinking about, man, God, she lived a life of misery. And then she gets saved, and you couldn't give her some time to enjoy that. And I talked to Greg about it, and Greg said something, that's still one of the most profound things, probably doesn't remember, but, he just said, well, Doug, she'd done so much damage to her character that God probably knew that she couldn't survive as a healthy Christian. And he was going to take her home before she could lie. Right. And I've held on to that ever since. So I, years later, so that was in 97. And years later, I ended up moving back to Houston, leaving the church there, and I go to Dallas one Sunday to preach, and it's a congregation, so the whole church is there. And I'm preaching and sharing some of these same things, but I'm sharing about my sister, and I'm thanking people. I don't even know who you are, but if you're still in the audience, I just want to let you know how much I love you for visiting my sister, for loving her, and how much I cherish that in my heart. And so afterward, I got done preaching. I had a line of people, and a couple of people, talking. I visited her when she was so, and I'm like, oh, thank you, and I got to hug them. And one sister came up and said, I work with, sick people, and I was about ready to leave God and quit that job because it doesn't seem to make any difference. But I was one of the people that went and visited your sister, 17 years ago. And you sharing what you shared today made me realize, just because I don't see results, doesn't mean I'm not making an impact or making a difference. And so, we just, what does it have to do with zeal? Well, I never, completely lost my zeal for Karen's soul. And we can't give up on people. We've got to understand that God is more powerful than any of these things. And I'm sure many of you have stories just like that. But someday, I guess she won't be my sister. I don't even know if I'll recognize her. But I think the Lord will say, hey, that's her. Look at her now. You know what I mean? But God is looking for men of God to take a stand. He's longing for people who have courage to love God and to hate sin. He's waiting for a modern day Phineas, a modern day Iron Man to stand up and burn with zeal for God's honor as he sees the sin all around him. Someone who will firmly grasp that spear in his hand. Is that you? Is that you, brothers?
Yeah.
Are you the one? Are you saying, here am I, send me? He's waiting for someone's zeal to burn as they see abortion used as a form of birth control. For someone's zeal to burn and courage and thrust that spear into sin and immorality in our world. And to thrust that spear into the apathy of our brotherhood. As the sinful march to justify their sin. As pornography destroys so many men in our country, God is waiting. And it's time that men of God, that iron men of God, stand up. Because if not us, brothers, then who? Right? For somebody else to do it? Wait for Greg or Frank or Gary or, who are you waiting for? Only you can answer the call. Only you can answer the question. Will you decide today to stand up for God and be true iron men of God? Amen.